I can't believe I'm saying this, but I actually missed going to work this past week. And this coming from somebody who's been trying to get away from my corporate environment for years. But what I found this week is that not all aspects of going out of the house and to work are bad. And in this video, we'll talk about mistakes we're making while working from home. But to make the video actually useful, we'll also talk about how to fix them. So if you're working from home, this will be the video for you. Before I begin, let me introduce myself, if our paths never crossed before. I'm Basswood, and this channel is dedicated to long-term fasting, sometimes called prolonged fasting or even extreme fasting. But in my 30-year experience with the thing, I just call it no eating for 3 to 6 weeks. And I'm so passionate about the subject. I'd like to educate you to try to experience it for yourself. I'll give you all the knowledge, all the support and motivation you will need to successfully complete it for yourself. However, I'm also passionate about health in general, and you've caught me in the middle of my mindful eating project, where I attempt to lose 3 kilograms in 3 months, focusing on mindful eating. And this video is the summary of week 7, a week when I was at home, working. And this is where the inspiration for this video comes from. I've been here before. 6 months at home with both of the boys. One should be in kindergarten and playing, and the other one should be in 1st grade, learning how to read. Instead, one was playing in the house while I was working, and the other one was learning how to read from a tablet, listening to their teacher pronounce the words from the screen. And then there was me. I was working from home, juggling playtime, reading lessons, and work emergencies from my kitchen table, on my laptop, late into the night. And this went on for 6 months. I was about to lose my mind. I know we all went through this, but come to think of it, not really. You see, my husband was at work all through the pandemic, and he couldn't quite picture why I'm at the end of my sanity when he came back home and took over, so I could work some more. Until he stayed at home for a week. Now, I loved every minute of it. I left him completely alone as if I was at work, which I actually was. And I let him deal with school, play, constant hunger, work, keeping on top of housework, everything. By the end of day 2, he ran back to work. So the experiences are real, and so are the solutions. But first, let's go deeper to what I did wrong and often still do if I don't prepare for my working from home. But more about my process at the end of the video. First, let's cover the mistakes. The first mistake that we and I make when we are working from home is sedentary lifestyle. Now, let's be honest, when we don't have to actually go out of the house to go to work, it's more convenient to stay in our comfortable pajamas all day and just work from our sofa or kitchen table. You don't have to prepare your clothes the night before, you don't have to cook your lunch in the morning, there's no commuting and no running down the corridor to get that printed papers. Your lives get very, very comfortable. But deep down, we all know that comfort is something we already have too much of. The second mistake that I keep making is not dealing with my poor ergonomics. Now, since I mostly work from my kitchen table or my very sink in and hug me from all sides couch, this has consequences. Now, it's nice to watch TV from that kind of surface, but sitting slouching behind the computer for hours will leave some consequences on my posture, pain in my neck and shoulders, and probably in my behind. Not probably, definitely in my behind too. And the hard, not so flexible kitchen chair is not that much better. Then we come to insufficient work gear. Now, when I was at home with the kids, it never crossed my mind to work on anything other than my laptop, even though at work I had two large screens and I was looking at them from the right angle. But by the end of month 6, my eyesight was so poor, it took about a year to get back to normal. And talking about normal, there also were some blurring of work-life boundaries. You know when you're at work and you have enough. You just close your laptop, stand up and go home. Even though you take the laptop with you, I usually don't take it out of the bag unless it is an emergency. But working from home, the laptop always stayed on the table. It was open and it was turned on. Even when we had lunch or dinner, I just pushed it aside a little, looking at it constantly. My mindset at the time was, there was a new email, there's an emergency, I have to deal with it right away. And this went on for hours into the evening and even into the night. And with this working mindset, my screen time increased. I rarely look at the screen when I'm at home, but when I'm working for hours, but when my working hours extended into the night, so did my screen time. And it wasn't for the social media, it was for work. And it took its toll. And its toll was poor sleep. Because extending my screen time into the night had consequences not only for my eyesight, but also on my sleep. I had problems falling asleep, thinking about the latest problem at work, and when I finally did fall asleep, my sleep wasn't sound. I kept dreaming about the problems, mulling over them, and I was waking up tired and wired. Which brings me to mistake or point number 7, emotional eating or snacking. Because when I don't sleep well, I'm hungry. And when I'm hungry, I tend to eat too much, especially when I'm working from home. Because when I'm at work, I don't have my pantry with me, and I take time each morning to prepare a healthy home-cooked lunch and a smoothie for breakfast. But when I'm working from home, the fridge is at my disposal the whole time. So is my pantry and the sweets cupboard. And there is also one more thing to keep in mind, and that is social isolation. Now, I never thought that this could be the issue, but I did start to meet the routine of meeting colleagues in the hallway, have a conversation on my lunch break, and seeing familiar faces around me when I worked. So yes, the social isolation did play a significant role. And then there was a last point that I wanted to make, and the problems that working from home not correctly did for my increased domestic stress. I was stressed more. I was at home all the time. I kept seeing what needed to be done around the house. The dishes were piling up, the clothes needed to be ironed and put away, and I was at home, so lunch had to be on the table when the boys came home from school. Now, don't get me wrong, it wasn't my husband who insisted on this. It was me. And constant working throughout the day meant that I was absent from my family as well. I was there, but not really. So yeah, these are the problems, the top problems that I encountered when I was working from home. And I have a question. Do some of them sound familiar? Or maybe more than some? Now, if you are the same as me, I'd dearly like to know. Write it down in the comments so we can exchange experiences. And also consider subscribing. The more of us that are in the conversation, the more ideas seem to surface. And also, talking about ideas, let me tell you what my workday looks like now, when I'm a little older and much wiser. My work begins when I am at the grocery store. Weird, but true. I usually know when I'll be working from home and I need to prepare my lunch. But, well, not prepare, but limit. I stay away from the sweets and salty snack shelves and I focus on the fresh produce. Now, when I come home, I make it a point to store all the healthy snackable food on the counter where I can see it. And this is essential to keeping my snacking during the day at a bare minimum. And next, I prepare the clothes the night before. Now, I don't dress as if I was going to work. However, I do put on jeans and a sweater, so I know it's not time for relaxation, but it's time for work. And then my working day begins. I say goodbye to my kids and my husband. I cook myself some tea and set up my kitchen table. There is an additional monitor already prepared from the day before, thanks for my husband, and the surface is clean and ready to work. I make sure I am facing away from the kitchen, not to be bothered with any dishes that are left over from the day before. And I also make sure to put on some music with clock counting in the background. And I find that Abby Emmons's writing sessions are ideal since they have a 5-minute break after 25 minutes of work. So this is where I make it a point to stand up and walk around the house for those 5 minutes, stretching my neck and shoulders or do some squats. And when it's time for my lunch break, I make it a point to cook it from scratch, and I eat it in peace. I don't rush it, and I admit it takes more than 30 minutes. But then I'm back to work. But the most important thing that I do is I set a reminder when my working day is over. I close my laptop at my designated hour and I clear the kitchen desk. I put it inside of the bag and store it at its designated space. No guilt, no fuss. I finish what is important, but nothing more. Then I start preparing for my mommy life. And that's it. No drama, no guilt. Now, I'm not saying that these things go this smoothly every day, but I try to keep it as close to this as possible. Now, this week I was working from home, and I must admit I'm quite happy with my result. My mindful eating went according to the schedule, even though I was at home and my calorie intake is going according to plan. Here is the specifics. All right, my 7th week of my project Mindful Eating was quite interesting. It started on the 20th of October on Monday, and then it finished on the 26th of October on Sunday. Now, as you can see, my weight was anywhere from 76.4 kilograms on Monday, and then it dropped to 75.4 on Sunday. And as you can see, the average calories are 1,651, which is a little bit above what I should eat if I wanted to lose weight. But the step count, again, is not very high just because I decided to focus on my eating instead of on my steps. So this is how my week looked like. I have slept quite enough and I have drank enough water as well, and my stress levels were really low. So I hope that this continues in the next week, except I would really like to get those step counts a little higher, but we will see. I hope this video has brought you some clarity to your working from home and some ideas that you can use to improve your working experiences. But if you're thinking about a radical weight loss with infinite health benefits, consider subscribing. My main topic is fasting for 3 weeks or more, and you will find everything you need on this channel. If there's a problem you're facing and you can't find a solution, let me know and I'll try to explain it in the future video. But fasting is the topic for my next video. For now, I'd like to thank you for your time, and I hope to see you again in the next one.